The Kia Sorento is in a unique position. It's smaller than most other three-row crossovers, yet it's larger than a CR-V. It's priced only a couple grand higher than a RAV4, and it offers more powertrains and features than either of them. If you're after value, this deserves a close look. The current Sorento was released for the 2021 model year, which makes it archaic in Kia Hyundai years. While this does share more than a few things in common with the new Santa Fe, it's very different when you look at the execution. First, unlike its Hyundai sibling, for 2026, it is a carryover year with the exception of a new steering wheel. I have a 2025, but here's the latest pricing. Underneath, you have 4 different choices in motivation. The first option is the most simple. It's a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated inline 4, making like 190 horsepower. It's going to be paired up to an 8-speed automatic. No CVTs are found in this lineup, which I will admit is refreshing to see. There's also a turbocharged version of this engine. It's what I have here. This is the bulk selling model. And interestingly enough, this is hooked up to a dual clutch transmission, an 8-speed unit. While being able to snap off gear changes is good fun, a dual clutch often brings some low-speed clunkiness. Thankfully, that is not the case here. From a stop, this is smooth. I don't feel too much of a delay off the line, and it goes through the gears with little fuss. I've driven this transmission in various other applications, and I think this is the smoothest that I've ever felt it. So, if the 8-speed DCT has finally gotten the tuning right, why did Hyundai drop it for 2026 in the Sorento's cinderblock cousin? Well, that could be due to the Santa Fe's stronger focus on refinement versus sportiness, or it could be down to the quality control issues we'll discuss later. If you enjoy fun, detailed car content, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. If we can hit 100,000 subs before 2026, I'll make another special series of your choosing. Thank you. Now, there's also a hybrid version with a 1.6 liter turbo and a 6-speed automatic. That's going to return you mid 30 miles per gallon. It's going to have great torque, but I haven't driven it in the Sorento just yet, nor have I driven the plug-in hybrid variant, which just adds a more powerful electric motor and a bigger battery. The end result isn't a whole lot of range. You're going to pay a decent chunk over what you would with the regular hybrid as well. But for the person with solar panels on the roof, that's probably a great deal. So I'm glad that we have so many options to choose from. Let's get back to this volume seller. Zero to 60, even with a really slow launch, comes up in the mid 6-second range. What you're gonna care about more is the passing power, and that's where this just feels so potent. With a light foot, I had no trouble getting to 30 miles per gallon up on the highway. It's happy on 87 octane too. And down the road, the dual injection system should reduce carbon buildup, helping you maintain that efficiency. Because the Sorento is about saving money first, front-wheel drive is standard on most trims, though all-wheel drive is an option that I would especially recommend with the turbo. Even on the Stamp Road, it does hook up pretty well. It is an on-demand, not a full-time system. A maximum of 50% of torque can be sent to the rear, though you can lock that torque on the upper trims. I've tested this setup out in the snow with the Santa Fe, and it did get stuck once, but so long as you're not dragging the belly in snow or climbing super steep grades, it works pretty well. Though, if you're trying to flex on your ex-wife, you might want to consider an X Pro. That's gonna come with mild all-terrain tires and a bigger radiator. And that is the extent of that one. Though the latter of which will allow you to tow a more substantial pontoon boat. It's now rated up to 4,500 pounds instead of the 3,500 or 2,000 that you'll get with the hybrids. The Kia Sorento rides a little bit more stiff than I was expecting. Over city streets, this isn't punishing necessarily, but it's not quite as forgiving as the Santa Fe. The ride can feel stiff at times, but it does smooth over more mild imperfections and uneven pavement well. The steering is light, yet it's not completely numb and disconnected like some other crossovers. But it doesn't really like to change direction all that quickly. This is less precise than the Hondas and Mazdas I've driven in this class, so if you want the best handling or the best ride quality, you might want to go elsewhere. However, when it comes to driver aids and most features, this easily outperforms Honda, Mazda, and even Toyota. Adaptive cruise control, lane centering, that is all standard, but Kia does make you pay extra for the better versions of it. And if you go with an SX trim, you also get a really good 360 view camera and those neat blind spot view monitors as well. The shape of the Sorento is admittedly pretty generic. However, the quad beam LED headlights, which are standard on every trim, look sick, and this huge amber DRL also helps this stand out. Most of the trims that you're going to find are also going to come with fog lights. Now, as you might have noticed, this doesn't have a whole lot of ground clearance. We're looking at about 8 inches, but if you go with a front-wheel drive model, then that's going to drop down to, I believe, 6.9. I guess you're probably not going to be off-roading this anyway. Oh wait, no. This has the X Pro trim, a very dedicated, rugged machine. Instead, you're probably going to appreciate stuff like the standard proximity entry more. Around back, you're going to have a power rear gate on most trims and a long cargo space. We're talking about 6.5 feet, a little bit over 6.5 feet. Not a whole lot of height. Stuff like the Honda Passport will probably be a little bit better at moving bulky furniture, but here you do have a third row, something the Honda doesn't get. As the side profile may suggest, this will not be replacing a Telluride anytime soon. Getting into the third row area, you do have a nice slide release button, but there isn't a whole lot of space to get back there, and once you do slide in, there should be enough space for an average sized adult for a shorter trip. Now, I am 6'3", and it's definitely a squeeze. I do have negative thigh support, but given the footprint of the car, this isn't terrible. Though this could use more AC vents, as I assume that these little itty bitty floor vents are not going to do a whole lot on a Texas summer day. Now, moving into the second row, it's a completely different story. Not only do I have more support, I have the ability to recline my seat a good amount. I can stare out of this huge panoramic sunroof. I have a little bit of extra leg room too, and I have a couple of different options to charge my devices, along with a little sunshade. Still, one thing that I have noticed is that this is not quite as family oriented as its Santa Fe brother. The Hyundai had more space, more available features, and better ventilation. Moving up front, you have really genuine looking fake wood placed on the dashboard and the door cards. You have nice leather trim on the higher grades. You have solid build quality, some nice switches for your heated and ventilated seats. I like the accenting. I'm digging the suede headliner of the SX Prestige. Admittedly, I'm not a huge fan of the single panel infotainment digital gauge cluster design. It causes some parts of the cluster to be blocked by the steering wheel. But I will admit this cabin looks fresh and it feels more expensive than it really is. Even here, with every last option, it's 50 grand. That's considerably cheaper than what you're going to get with a Honda. This is also practical. There's plenty of storage in here. There's a wireless charger that works, though it does cook your phone slightly, and the infotainment is snappy. This is reactive. I think the settings are pretty easy to understand, and on top of that, we have wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto as standard now. This On the other hand, the climate controls, I'm glad that they have their own dedicated spot. I do wish that they weren't combined with your radio controls, but that can be pretty easy to work around. What's a little bit more difficult to get around are these seats. Now, me personally, I've been okay with them. I think they have good thigh support. I've had other people sit in this and they strongly disagree, as they are stiff, so your mileage might vary. And one last grievance, I think that the decent Bose sound system should be equipped on more than just the top trim. For the money, you're getting an undeniably versatile, well-equipped, and solid feeling car, but how does that hold up in the long run? The most pressing issue for the Sorento of this generation has been DCT problems. This has been addressed with a recall, but some people are still having issues with it. What seems to happen is a loss of power due to the oil pump failing in the transmission. Other people, even with the hybrids, have also experienced a stalling or a loss of power. And there are complaints over the radiator being a tad vulnerable to rock-related damage. There are also some reports of the integrated thermal management module failing, electrical issues like a draining battery, and some climate control problems. I like to look at owner reviews too, and what I've found is that over on Edmunds, the owner satisfaction rate does seem to be low for the first part of the generation, but it seems like a lot more people had a good experience after those first few years. And the vibes from the reviews over on cars.com also seem to be generally positive. I wouldn't be scared to own one of these, but I do think Kia needs to prove themselves more before I'd feel comfortable recommending this to people that highly prioritize longevity or resale value. The Sorento continues to push Kia forward. Not only is this a practical, well-equipped crossover, it also feels a step above a lot of competitors that cost more. I think this would be a good fit for a lot of people, but I wouldn't buy one before driving a Santa Fe. For a similar cost, the Hyundai gives you more features, more comfort, more space, more helpful touches, and a more trustworthy transmission. That said, I think quite a few people will prefer the Kia for its more sporty feel and low-key styling in lieu of basic geometry. You can decide which one has a more convincing argument. Thanks for watching. And thank you to my channel members for helping me improve my videos. Consider joining for additional content. I'll catch you in the next one.